What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be going over some of the things that you may have missed in the Mortal Kombat movie and some hidden Easter eggs. But before I do, if you like learning more about Mortal Kombat lore and story, then I invite you to head on over to my channel, MKTemple, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications every time I post a new video. Now, with that out of the way, the Mortal Kombat movie has been out for almost a week at the time of this recording, and I've watched it a few times, and I've noticed a few different Easter eggs, and to me, Easter eggs are things that you might have to look for, things that might not be necessarily apparent. So on some of these videos and some of these articles of Easter eggs that I've been seeing, I'm not really going to be talking about like the special moves that the characters do or the fatalities that the characters do, because I think that's just kind of common knowledge for most Mortal Kombat fans and most video game fans in general. So I'm going to be looking at some of the stuff that is easily missed throughout the Mortal Kombat movie. On my count, I've counted about 15 different Easter eggs in the movie. Some are more apparent than others. So the first one that we see is the mention of a fighter named Eddie Tobias. In the movie, when Jax introduces himself to Cole, he says,
"Cole Young, the man that took the belt from Eddie Tobias."
Now, this is a direct reference to the Mortal Kombat co-creators, Ed Boon and John Tobias. They just kind of combined their names and just made up some fighter as a nod to pay homage to Ed Boon and John Tobias. The second Easter egg I actually didn't really notice the first time that I watched the movie, but if you look in the background of the warehouse when Sub-Zero and Jax fight, you can see the code input for Sub-Zero's Ice Ball, which is down, forward, low punch. Now let's flash forward to Sonya's trailer. And in Sonya's trailer, we get actually a good amount of Easter eggs here, mainly on her like It's Always Sunny kind of conspiracy theory clipboard that she's using to kind of unravel all of the mysteries that surround Mortal Kombat. As I said, some of these are apparent, some of these aren't. The first thing we see that's pretty noticeable is the mention of Nightwolf, or the Nightwolf. It appears to be a newspaper clipping of an article that talks about the Matoka tribe, which is Nightwolf's tribe. As we learned in Mortal Kombat 11, Nightwolf is known as Grey Cloud, and the title of Nightwolf is passed down over generations. So this looks like it could just be an article talking of the Matoka tribe and someone who is holding up the mantle or the title of the Nightwolf. Also, kind of hoping we get Nightwolf in future games. Then we get a bust of what appears to be the Aztec god of war, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Baluk-Chebtan. Now, this is where the inspiration for Kotal Khan came from. So this is a direct reference to the character Kotal Khan. In fact, in Mortal Kombat X Story Mode, Raiden calls Kotal Khan Bullock.
Kogatir! I am a son of Argus. I was not merely declared a god by befuddled commoners, Bullock.
So in Mortal Kombat lore, he is the Aztec god of war. For those of you who don't know, in Kotal Khan's origin story, he travels to Earthrealm hundreds of years ago, and there he comes in contact with the Aztecs, and he is worshipped as a god. And he shows them some of his Aztec traditions, which they then adapt as their own tradition. I am a big Kotal Khan fan. I think he's one of the better characters that was introduced in the new timeline, and I really hope we get to see him in the future as well. We also see a vase that has what looks like a centaur on it, and this could be a callback to Motaro or just the centaur race in Mortal Kombat in general. Now, one of my personal favorite Easter eggs in this movie is when Kano is in Sonya's trailer and he's drinking her beer and he says, "You're almost out of beer and your beer is shit." He's drinking a beer called Sling Dog. And I actually haven't seen anyone else mention this Easter egg. It might have been, I'm sure someone else has mentioned it somewhere on another YouTube video or something, but I haven't seen it personally, and I did catch it the first time that I watched the movie. This is the same beer that Jax is drinking in the Mortal Kombat 11 storyline mode. I really do appreciate the subtlety of this Easter egg here. Now let's flash forward a little bit into the movie, and we get to Raiden's temple, and we see a bunch of murals, and basically any one of these murals that we see can be considered an Easter egg in the movie. The first mural that we see is the Great Kung Lao. If you know the storyline, the Great Kung Lao defeated Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat years and years ago, and then at the very next tournament, he was killed by Goro, which we also see Goro tearing someone in half, which kind of looks like it could be the Great Kung Lao. We also get a mural of what looks like Armageddon, or the Armageddon storyline. This is definitely Argus and his wife Delia, and it looks like there's a bunch of warriors fighting in what appears to be like a solnado or a tornado in the background. This could be a direct reference to the Armageddon storyline. It does look like they're standing over a casket or a coffin, and that person in the casket or coffin appears to be either Taven or Dagon. I think it looks a little bit more like Taven. Taven and Dagon are both of their sons. If you need more information about the storyline of Armageddon, I have 2 videos. I have the Fall of Edenia, which talks about it and it talks about the origins, or you can check out my video, The Battle of Armageddon, which goes way more into detail. The gist of this storyline is that Delia had a vision of Armageddon where all these fighters would be fighting, and in order to prevent Armageddon, they put both of their sons, Taven and Dagon, into stasis, where they would wake up at a time when Armageddon was set to go down. The Battle of Armageddon was set to go down. And that's basically the storyline of Armageddon. It looks like they're putting one of their sons into stasis here. I also saw some other mentionings that this could be King Jared, but I don't think this is, mainly because King Jared dies after the deaths of Argus and Delia. So it does look like this is meant to be Taven, in my opinion. And then we get this image of Shao Kahn. I mean, not really much to be said here. This is Shao Kahn. He's an outworld. He's ruling over his people. Shortly after, we see the Relic Room. And in the Relic Room, we see Shinnok's amulet and Katana's fan. Now, Kano tries to take Shinnok's amulet, and then Liu Kang tells him to put it back. Kano says, put what back? And we never see him put this back, which makes me feel like this isn't the real Shinnok's amulet. It might be a duplicate. If this is the real Shinnok's amulet, then I have some issues with this, because it's supposed to be one of the most powerful artifacts in the Mortal Kombat universe. What's it doing just hanging out for anyone to swipe out in the open in whatever this, sad relic room is? This, however, could be adapted in a future storyline, maybe off screen. We see that Quan Chi had hired Kano to swipe the amulet, or someone else had hired Kano to swipe the amulet. And maybe we get this storyline somewhere down the road if they try to adapt Shinnok's story or something like that. And then we see Katana's fan. I mean, there's not really much to talk about here. It's definitely Katana's fan, or a nod to it. I'm sure we will see the Edenian princess in the sequel. Let's hope. We get a mention of Bo Rai Chao, and if you don't know who Bo Rai Chao is, he appeared in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. That was his first appearance, and in a few games after that. Deception, Armageddon, he was a downloadable character for Mortal Kombat X. Bo Rai Chao has trained most of the Shaolin warriors. So the great Kung Lao was a student of Bo Rai Chao, so was Liu Kang, so was the current Kung Lao. Liu Kang name drops Bo Rai Chao, so it's good to know that he exists in this universe as well.
For reasons beyond my kin, Master Bodai Sho found me half dead in the gutter.
We get an Easter egg of sweep the leg. So if anyone is old enough as me and remembers playing Mortal Kombat, and I'm sure this still happens in the current games too, but way back in the arcade days, if you were playing against usually a newer player or an inexperienced player, they would kind of spam the sweep move, and that's exactly what this scene was a nod to, especially when Kano gets sweeped. I think it's like 3 times by Liu Kang, and he's like, is this the only move that you know? That's 100% a nod to back in the day when people would just constantly spam the sweep. And I'm sure it still happens, but it's a lot easier to get out of a sweep spammer now than it was way back then. Now, this Easter egg came about a Twitter post, and I don't think it's very clear in the movie that you can see it in the movie, but Daniel Nelson, the guy who played Cabal, tweeted an image of his badge that was on his costume, and the badge says Striker. In the new Mortal Kombat storyline, Cabal, after he runs with the Black Dragon, he becomes a cop for a short while, and his partner is Striker. So it looks like we could get Striker in a future installment, or at least Striker does exist in this iteration of Mortal Kombat. And then the final Easter egg, and it's not even really an Easter egg, it's the poster of Johnny Cage at the end. And that's really just a nod to, hey, he's coming in the sequel. We're going to find Johnny Cage. We're going to find more warriors. So I'm excited to see him, as he is one of my favorite characters. If you want to know more on my thoughts of the overall movie, I did do a review. You can head over to my channel and check that out. And if I missed any Easter eggs, then sound off in the comments below and let me know what I missed. Again, if you like learning more about Mortal Kombat lore and story, then head on over to my channel, subscribe, click that bell to get notifications every time I post a new video. And it would mean a great deal to me if you could give my video a big thumbs up. And hopefully, I'll see you on my next videos.